All right, let's talk about something we've all felt. You have a brilliant idea, it's ready to go, and then it gets stuck, sucked into this endless loop of meetings, reviews, and approvals. It's that organizational gridlock that just crushes innovation. But what if there was a blueprint to actually fix it?
I mean, it's a huge question, isn't it? You've got all these smart people, you've got these big, ambitious goals, but somehow everything just moves at a snail's pace. It almost feels like the system itself is designed to say no, or, at the very least, not yet.
And this is where our story really kicks off. We're going to look at the work of an architect, Adrien Xavier, who stared this exact problem right in the face. And he didn't just tweak the system, he came up with a powerful new way of thinking that could change the whole game. So first, let's really dig into the specific problem he was up against. We're going to call it the governance gridlock. And it's just this perfect storm of good intentions leading to a massive, frustrating bottleneck.
Okay, so the setting here is Queensland Health. Their goal? Absolutely fantastic. They wanted to use the power of AI to improve patient care and cut down on clinician burnout. Who could argue with that? But the reality? Well, the reality was their governance process, which was designed to keep everything safe, was this manual project-by-project review that was strangling every new idea in its crib. And this right here shows you exactly why everything ground to a halt. So you've got an idea. That idea needs a manual system architecture document, and then a totally separate information security risk assessment. Once you finally wrestle all that paperwork to the ground, your idea gets thrown into a long queue for a manual review. You see the problem? Each one of these steps was a potential black hole for time, turning weeks into months or even longer. Now, when Adrien Xavier saw this gridlock, he didn't just try to find a way to speed up the old, broken process. Nope, he decided to completely redesign the game. So let's check out his solution. He called it the QChi Trusted AI Fabric, or QTAF for short. And honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it like an AI factory. But this is a factory where all the safety inspectors and the quality control checks are built right into the assembly line. So anything that gets produced inside is automatically up to code from the get-go. This quote from Adrien really gets to the heart of the whole philosophical shift. It's like, why inspect every single car that rolls off the assembly line one by one? Instead, he said, let's just certify the factory itself. And it's this really simple but powerful two-step idea. First, the governance teams approve the platform, the factory, and all of its secure gateways for data and tools. Once that's certified, boom, the innovators are free to build whatever they need because they know they're always working inside these safe, pre-approved guardrails. And look at how this changes the workflow. It's totally transformed. An idea gets submitted to an automated agent. It asks a couple of key questions, classifies the risk, and for low-risk projects, it's an automated green light. You get a secure sandbox environment right away. Now, high-risk ideas, they still get flagged for a human review, but all that tedious paperwork is already pre-filled. It's fast, it's smart, and it's safe. So, what's the impact of all this? Well, the target for his model was to cut the manual effort from governance by more than 70%. Let that sink in. That isn't just a little improvement. That's a complete game changer for the entire innovation lifecycle. Okay, so this is an amazing solution for Queensland Health, for sure, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is this just a one-off fix for a very specific problem? And Adrien's answer to that is a hard no. He argues that this AI factory, QTAF, it's just one example of a much, much bigger idea. He sees it as the blueprint for how all large organizations should be managing their technology architecture from now on. And this brings us to his bigger philosophy, right? It's all about moving away from the old way of doing things. It's a fundamental shift that we can call from files to flows. You see, Adrien realized that most enterprise architecture is basically run on static Word docs, PDFs, and diagrams. You know the ones. They're already outdated the second you hit save. They're disconnected, they're impossible to search, and they end up creating all these different conflicting versions of the truth. Sound familiar to anyone? So his solution is this concept he calls the architecture continuum, and it just means forget the static files. Instead, imagine a single living repository where every single component is an interconnected data object. It's basically like upgrading from a shelf full of dusty old encyclopedias to a dynamic, searchable Wikipedia for your entire organization. Okay, so you've built this incredible digital continuum. How do you unlock its true power? Well, this is where Adrien brings in the final crucial piece of the puzzle, augmenting the human architects with AI.
The key piece of tech here is something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. In simple terms, it lets a large language model securely connect to your private data, that architecture continuum we just talked about. So instead of asking a generic question, you can now ask things like, hey, show me all applications that use patient data and are scheduled for retirement this year. The AI goes, retrieves the real facts from your continuum, and gives you a precise, accurate answer.
And then you take it to the next level with AI agents. Think of these as little autonomous programs that you can give goals to. For instance, you could tell an agent, your job is to continuously monitor our application portfolio for any security gaps. And that agent just works 24/7, flagging issues and automating compliance checks before a human ever even needs to look at it. So when you put all these pieces together, the platform thinking, the digital continuum, and then you supercharge it with AI augmentation, what do you actually get? Well, you get a whole new vision for the architect of tomorrow.
Adrian's work really captures this transformation perfectly. The architect is no longer just a documentarian, a keeper of records. By automating all the grunt work, their role gets elevated to what it always should have been, a true strategic advisor.
And that's really the superpower here. By building these systems that automate governance and documentation, Adrian's model frees up the smartest people in the organization. They can finally stop acting like librarians and start being what they were hired to be, strategic thinkers, solving the company's biggest, toughest challenges.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Adrian Xavier solved his governance gridlock by building a better platform, not just a better process. And it really makes you think, what's that frustrating bottleneck in your world that's just waiting for someone to stop tweaking the old broken rules and start building a whole new factory?